The country's top bankers on the hot seat today, just as they try to prepare to pay out massive bonuses. This is a big story today you want to hear about. A bipartisan committee looking into the financial crisis will grill the men who run some of the banks that were bailed out with your taxpayer money. Here with an idea of what we can expect today, our very own Christine Romans and Roben Farzad, a senior writer at Business Week. So, Christine, let's start with you. What do you expect the atmosphere there today will be? We've heard some reports that lawmakers really aren't so much interested in baiting the bankers as they are in actually getting some information from them.
And they've said that. The 10 people on this commission, some of them have said, look, we don't want to just have fireworks for the sake of fireworks. We want to get down to the bottom of this. We want to figure out why are some of these too big to fail? How did this happen? What were the mistakes that were made? What kind of risk-taking was going on inside these firms? But also, how did our government fail? That's key here because the government, there was a lot of regulatory failures. Finding out, getting really clear answers, John, so they can lay out what went wrong so it doesn't happen again.
Roben, don't we already know much of what happened?
I fear we do, but this is one of those mandatory exercises like a 9/11 commission. You have to have it for at least the approach towards some sort of closure. Now, I agree with Christine, but you're going to see some great fireworks, some great pyrotechnics over the next few days. Because it's an irresistible whipping boy. You have 10% unemployment, even soaring food stamp use, and Goldman Sachs about to have a record year, about to pay out record bonuses. These firms are still beholden to the taxpayer. They still owe the taxpayer for bailing them out in their darkest hours. So there's going to be some tension.
But, you know, haven't we heard that some of these outfits like Goldman Sachs didn't need bailing out? They were told to take the money, and then, you know, Goldman Sachs CEO Lloyd Blankfein's famous comment of, we're doing God's work here. I mean, how much do they owe to the taxpayer? Do they really get it? Do they really care?
Well, and that's a question. Do they get it? And this has been going on for a year. I mean, people have been screaming about these bonuses for a year. Why has it taken the smartest guys in the universe, if you believe the whole idea that Wall Street is the smartest? Why has it taken them a year to figure out that there's a public relations problem here? How come they haven't figured out how to fix it? I think the spotlight, you're right, is going to be on Goldman Sachs. There's a lot of people are asking for a year they've been asking questions. Why was Goldman paid out fully on its exposure to AIG? Why was that fair? Who in the government was behind that? Why did that happen? And I think these are issues that just haven't gone away. Even though the banks have sort of sat back and maybe waited for this to blow over, it hasn't blown over. In fact, it's gotten worse.
On that point about Goldman Sachs and other entities getting paid at 100% from AIG on these credit default swaps that they took out insurance for mortgage-backed securities with credit default swaps. Tim Geithner came in and said, pay it at 100%. And then there were reports that he also said, by the way, and we're not going to disclose that this happened publicly. Is he going to be on the hot seat today in some way?
They are going to be on the hot seat. They're going to say, listen, how was this allowed to happen? You have that really smelly prospect of private profits and socialized risk right there with the AIG example. And when you have such a disparity, outsized profits, terrible economy, it puts it in such sharp relief. But, you know, I think that trying to teach bankers not to pay themselves is like trying to teach a dog to become a vegetarian. It's just not going to fly. This is why they go to work. This is why you go to Wall Street. This is the social compact. You put up with the hazing, the long hours, the high divorce rate, so you can make money.
Right.
And a lot of money.
And a ton of money. But we learned a lot, and we wonder about lessons of the past. If lessons of the past actually sunk in. The words too big to fail became part of our lexicon after the economic collapse of late 2008. And now we have more organizations that are too big to fail.
And they know they're not going to be allowed to fail. Now they know, and they know that they're not going to be allowed to go down.
So what are we learning here?
Well, and another interesting thing about this commission is based on this 1929 commission that looked at the Great Depression and eventually recommended something called Glass-Steagall, which was this big firewall between commercial banking and all this risk-taking and insurance products and the like. In the 1990s, under the Clinton administration, bipartisan knocked down those walls. Some people now say, look, everything's old is new again. We're going back to talking about, wait a second, maybe we had an idea back there, and in the go-go days of the 90s, we knocked it down and
certainly if you're J.P. Morgan Chase and Jamie Dimon or Merrill Lynch Bank of America, you'd say, hey, look, we took one for the team. We were told, effectively, it's in your interest, it's the country's interest to take these firms over. J.P. Morgan with Bear Stearns and Washington Mutual. So way too big to fail is suddenly the standard.
Okay, so the report from the Financial Crisis Inquiry Commission is due out in December. At the same time, though, Congress is mulling over changes to financial regulation. Barney Frank has said, well, maybe we shouldn't be waiting until the end of this report. And the report that you cited, the Pecora report, came out in 1933 before the final report of the Glass-Steagall Act came out in 1933 before the Pecora report was actually released. Do you expect that we'll see a repeat of that? Will new financial regulation come out before
Yes.
we get the final report?
Yes, I think so.
Yeah, we certainly will. If it's not going to be a one-for-one analog for Glass-Steagall, it's certainly not appropriate in the age of these really esoteric derivatives, just to say commercial and investment banking are separate. But you're going to see an attempt to slam the door after the horse is gone. And this is the problem with this. There are great intentions in Congress wanting to do this. It was an epic meltdown. But likely Wall Street is already working on the next jig, the next bubble. And it takes the prescient lawmaker a little more intelligence to look at what that could be.
The next bubble.
This will be the record, though. This will be the record for what happened and who's to blame.
Those words, the next bubble.
God willing.
Send chills down your spine.
Oh, yeah.
Roben Farzad, Christine Rummus, as always, thanks for being with us this morning. Great discussion. Karen?
All right, guys. Well, thanks. Back to our continuing coverage of the quake in Haiti. How does the country keep order